The first night in the new house, I woke up at 3:15 a.m. It wasn't the usual kind of waking, not the groggy, half-asleep drift when you roll over and go back to dreaming. This was sharp, sudden, like someone had called my name. The room was dark except for the faint red glow of the clock on the nightstand. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, one after another, coming from the hallway just outside the bedroom. I lay frozen, heart hammering against my ribs. The realtor had warned me that old houses make noises, that floorboards shift, pipes groan, and wind finds its way through every gap. I told myself that's all it was. Just an old house talking. But the sound was too steady to be random creaks. Too human. The steps reached the bedroom door and stopped. I held my breath. Nothing. After a long minute, they faded back down the hallway, each one softer than the last until the house went quiet again. In the morning, I told myself it was my imagination. I just moved in. I was alone for the first time in years. Maybe I wanted the house to feel alive. But then it happened again. The second night, I woke at 3:15 on the dot. The same slow steps. This time, I sat up, pulse racing, and opened the door as quietly as I could. The hallway stretched empty, bathed in pale moonlight from the window at the far end. But the air was cold, unnaturally cold, like someone had just passed through. I stayed up until dawn with every light in the house on. By the third night, I was ready. I propped my phone on the nightstand, set it to record, and lay staring at the door until my eyes ached. At 3:15, the footsteps started again. This time they were louder, closer, like whoever it was had grown bolder. The steps stopped outside the door, and then came 3 soft knocks. I nearly dropped the phone. Knock, knock, knock. The sound was so gentle it almost felt polite. I didn't open the door. When the morning came, I played the recording back with shaking hands. The footsteps were faint but unmistakable, and when the knocks came, my stomach turned to ice. I wasn't imagining this. That day I tried to distract myself by unpacking boxes, but the house felt heavier with every hour. The hallway seemed longer than it had before. Even the creak of the stairs made me jump. I decided to ask the neighbor if they'd ever heard anything strange. She was an older woman with a tidy garden, the kind of neighbor who knows everything that happens on the street. "Oh, that house," she said when I mentioned where I lived. "Been empty a while. The last owners left after just 6 months." "Why?" I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. She hesitated, said the nights got too noisy for them. "But it's an old place. Drafts, pipes, you know how it is." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. That night, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was waiting for me. I set the phone to record again, but this time I left the screen facing the door, hoping to catch a glimpse of whatever was out there. At 3:14, I was already awake, holding my breath. The first footstep came like a clock striking the hour. Then another. Then another. The steps stopped outside the door, and this time, the doorknob turned. Just a little. Just enough to make the latch click. But it didn't open. I sat there frozen until the first light of dawn crept through the curtains. By the 5th night, I couldn't take it anymore. I dragged a chair into the hallway, right outside the bedroom door, and sat there waiting with the phone camera on, hands sweating. 3:14, the house held its breath. 3:15, the first step came from the far end of the hallway. Then another, and another. I raised my phone, the screen glowing just enough to light my face. "Who's there?" I whispered. The footsteps stopped. For a second, there was only silence. And then, from the shadows at the far end of the hall, a whisper. "You shouldn't be here." The words were so soft I almost thought I'd imagined them. Until the floor creaked, fast this time, like someone retreating down the stairs. I didn't follow. I just sat there until the sun came up, my hands shaking. In the morning, I searched every inch of the house, every closet, every corner, even the attic. Nothing. But when I played back the recording, my blood ran cold. The whisper was there. And so was something else, faint breathing, right next to the microphone. Like someone had been standing behind me the entire time. Tomorrow night, I promised myself I wouldn't just sit and wait. Tomorrow night, I'd find out who, or what, was walking my hallway at 3:15 every single night. The next night, I didn't just wait, I prepared. Before bed, I walked the hallway with a flashlight, checking every door, every window, every closet. The house was silent except for the creak of the old boards under my feet. I locked the bedroom door, then unlocked it again, If whatever was out there wanted to come in, I wanted to see it happen. I set my phone to record video, propped it on a pile of books so it faced the bedroom door. Then I sat in a chair just inside the doorway, blanket around my shoulders, heart already beating fast though midnight was hours away. The house was too quiet. Every pop, every tick of the cooling pipes made me jump. I stared at the glowing red numbers on the clock, counting down the minutes. 3:10. I gripped the phone tighter, my thumb hovering over the screen as if I could somehow protect myself with it. 3:15. The first footstep came from the far end of the hall. Then another. Slow. Careful. The sound of weight on old wood, measured and deliberate. The air in the room went cold. The footsteps drew closer until I could almost feel them in the floorboards. I aimed the phone at the hallway. "Who's there?" I whispered. Nothing. Then the knob on the guest room door across the hall turned with a faint, rusty click. The door swung open an inch. I held my breath, staring, waiting for someone, anyone, to step out. Nothing. The door just stayed open. I stood, legs shaking, and stepped into the hallway. Each board complained under my weight, but the other footsteps had stopped. The guest room smelled faintly of stale cigarette smoke, sharp and sudden, as if someone had just been there. I backed away, shut the door, and ran back to the bedroom. When morning came, I watched the video. The phone had caught everything. The sound of the door, the moment I stepped into the hall. But there was something I hadn't seen with my own eyes, a shadow. Just for a second, before the door opened, something passed in front of the camera. Not a full figure, a blur, stretched and too tall, like it barely fit in the frame. That image stayed in my head all day. I couldn't work, couldn't eat. By noon, I'd convinced myself I had to know more. I went to the library and dug through the local newspaper archives. That's where I found it, a yellowed article from 1978. A man named Richard Hale had owned this house. A war veteran. Lived here alone after his wife left him. He was found dead at the bottom of the stairs. The police had ruled it an accident, slipped during the night, the article said. The librarian gave me a look when I checked out the file, like she knew why I was asking, but didn't want to say. That evening, when I walked back into the house, it felt heavier, like it knew what I'd learned. I decided to go further. That night, I didn't sit in the hall. I sat in the guest room. The same one whose door had opened by itself. I left the light off, left the door wide open, and sat cross-legged on the floor with my phone in my lap, recording. I waited. My heart thudded so loud I was sure it would ruin the audio. 3:14. The house went still. Even the wind outside seemed to stop. 3:15. The footsteps started. Slow. Measured. Closer. Until they stopped right outside the open door. I couldn't see anything. But the air turned icy. My breath fogged in front of me. Then the floorboard just inside the room creaked, as if someone had stepped in. My skin prickled. "Who are you?" I whispered. No answer. And then, right by my ear, a voice, low, rasping, said, "Leave." I scrambled to my feet, heart hammering, stumbling back into the hall. But the voice hadn't finished. A second whisper followed, almost too soft to hear, layered under the first. "Before it's too late." I slammed the bedroom door shut, my hands shaking, and didn't sleep until dawn. When I checked the recording, I heard it all again. The footsteps, the creak, the word, and something else. Right after the whisper, there was a faint sound I hadn't noticed at first. Another set of footsteps, going down the stairs, as if whatever had been in the room with me was leaving, but not alone. I didn't leave the house the next day. I couldn't. I sat in the kitchen for hours with my laptop open. The footage paused on the moment where both figures turned toward the camera. Frame by frame, their faces became clearer, or maybe my mind was just filling in the blanks. The taller one looked like a man, but his features were stretched, his jaw too long, his eye sockets too deep. The crouched one was worse, its limbs bent wrong, like it had been crushed and reassembled just to move again. And then there were their mouths. Both of them moved in perfect sync, forming my name. By late afternoon, I'd stopped pretending this was something I could ignore. If I left now, I'd never know what they wanted. And I couldn't live with that. I set up everything again, 2 tripods, both phones, the laptop webcam. I added an audio recorder I found in a drawer, clipped to the edge of the bed. If they came back tonight, I wanted sound, video, proof from every angle. I turned off every light except a single desk lamp in the hallway. The shadows stretched long and strange, pooling in the corners like spilled ink. Then I waited. By midnight, my legs were stiff from sitting cross-legged on the floor. Every creak of the house made me flinch. The fridge kicked on, and I nearly jumped out of my skin. 2:45. My mouth was so dry I couldn't swallow. The blanket around my shoulders felt like it weighed 100 pounds. 3 o'clock. The air got heavy, like breathing through wool. 3:10. The house fell completely silent. Not even the wind outside. 3:15. The first step. Slow. Solid. Coming from the far end of the hallway. Then another. And another. Each one closer. Louder. Until I could feel the floor vibrate beneath me. The hallway camera picked it up first. A tall figure stepping into view. It didn't walk like a normal person. Its movements lagged, as if the air was thicker for it than for me. Its arms swaying a half-second behind its steps. I gripped the phone in both hands, trying to keep it steady. "Who are you?" I whispered. The figure stopped. Its head tilted in a slow, unnatural motion, as though considering the question. Then it kept coming. 1 step. 2. It reached the doorway of the guest room and stood there, motionless. I couldn't move. My breath fogged in the air between us. Then I saw it, movement on the floor. A second figure crawled into view, low and quick, its hands too long, fingers splayed on the wood like a spider. I nearly dropped the phone. The taller figure stepped aside, as if making room for the crouched one. It crept to the threshold and stopped, its head snapping toward me at an angle no human neck could make. Then everything went dark. Not just the lamp, the cameras, the phone screen, even the glow from the digital clock died. Pitch black. The sound that followed will never leave me. Footsteps, too many to count, circling me, some heavy, some light, as though more figures had joined them. The recorder in my lap picked up breathing that wasn't mine, quick, ragged, surrounding me from every direction. Then, right by my ear, a whisper. "Get out." Another voice joined it, lower, layered under the first, almost a growl. "Or stay forever." The circle of footsteps stopped. And then, slowly, the air filled with the sound of knocking. Not on the door, not on the walls, but all around me. The floor, the ceiling, like the whole house was knocking at once. I curled tighter against the wall, eyes wide though I couldn't see a thing. Then, as suddenly as it started, the darkness broke. The lamp flickered back to life. The hallway was empty, but wet footprints covered the floor, leading from the hall into the room, and stopping right where I sat. I grabbed the camera and replayed the footage on the tiny screen, my hands shaking. The figure was there, both of them, and just before the blackout, they turned toward the camera in perfect unison. Their mouths moved. Frame by frame, I watched it, my chest tight. They were saying my name, and smiling. When the clip ended, I sat in silence for a long time, the morning light starting to creep through the windows. I should have packed a bag. I should have left, but I couldn't. Something in that smile felt less like a threat and more like an invitation. So that night, I made a new decision. No more hiding. No more cameras. If they came back, I was going to follow them. Wherever they wanted me to go, I was going. I didn't sleep. Not even for a minute. When night fell again, I already knew what I was going to do. I turned off every light in the house except the small lamp by the stairs. The glow stretched long shadows across the hallway like dark fingers reaching toward me. I left the bedroom door open, my heart hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. 3 a.m. I was already standing in the hallway, barefoot, every nerve alive. 3:10. The house went silent, like it was holding its breath. 3:15. The footsteps started, this time behind me. I turned, and there he was, the tall figure, standing in the kitchen doorway. His outline was clearer now, almost solid, and his head tilted slowly, like he was making sure I saw him. Then he turned and began to walk down the hallway toward the stairs. I followed. Every step felt like wading into deep water. The floor was freezing under my feet, the walls pressing in on either side. I could hear my own breath echoing in my ears, short and shallow. Halfway down the hall, I saw the crouched one. It was moving low to the ground, its hands splayed out like a spider's, each finger joint bending at impossible angles. It paused and turned its head toward me, a quick, jerky motion, before scuttling toward the stairs. I hesitated. My body screamed at me to run back to my room and slam the door. Then came the knock. 3 slow, heavy knocks. But they weren't coming from the hallway this time. They were coming from below, from the basement. The air grew so cold I could see my breath cloud in front of me. The tall figure stopped at the top of the stairs and waited, its head bowed as though it was listening for something. Then, slowly, it raised its arm and pointed toward the basement door. I gripped the banister until my knuckles ached and forced myself forward. Each step down creaked under my weight, the sound deafening in the stillness. The smell hit me halfway down. Damp earth, rust, something old and metallic. The door at the bottom was ajar. A faint light glowed from somewhere deep inside. I reached the concrete floor, my breath shaking, and stepped inside. The basement was cluttered with old furniture, boxes stacked high, cobwebs hanging like curtains, and footprints, wet footprints, leading across the floor toward the far wall. The crouched figure was there, half hidden in shadow, rocking back and forth like it was waiting for me. I froze. Then the voice came. Soft, desperate, not theirs. Help me. I swallowed hard. Who are you? No answer. The footprints glistened in the faint light, leading me farther in. I followed them, heart pounding, until I saw it. A mirror leaning against the far wall. The glass was cracked, dusted with age, but I could see my reflection clearly. And then the reflection smiled. I didn't. Its lips moved, forming words I couldn't hear. I stepped closer, my legs trembling. The reflection tilted its head, a perfect match to mine, then lifted one hand and pressed it against the glass. I felt cold bloom against my own palm. Then, faintly, I heard it, dozens of whispers layered together, coming from the dark behind me. I turned, but the basement was empty. When I looked back at the mirror, the reflection was gone. In its place was someone else. Me, but not me. Eyes sunken, skin gray, mouth moving in a silent scream. The light flickered once, and then went out. When the light went out, I froze where I stood. The darkness wasn't just absence of light. It felt thick, heavy, like it was pressing against my skin. I could hear my own breathing, fast and shallow, and somewhere beyond it, something else. Breathing that wasn't mine. Then the whispers started. At first, just a hiss, like wind in the pipes. Then words, dozens of them, overlapping until they were almost a chant. Follow. Below. Don't leave yet. The air grew colder with every syllable. I forced myself to take a step forward. The floor squelched under my bare feet, damp earth, soaking into my skin. The glow returned, faint at first, coming from the mirror. Only it wasn't just reflecting me this time. There were shapes behind me in the glass, tall, crooked shadows, dozens of them, filling the frame like an audience watching from the dark. My reflection moved a second too late, its eyes fixed on me, mouth twisting into a grin. Then letters began to form on the cracked glass, traced by an invisible hand. Help me. The whispering stopped. Then a single, clear voice spoke. Not from the mirror, not from the room, but from everywhere at once. Open it. I turned, and saw the hidden door in the wall again, half open, waiting. My whole body screamed at me to run, but my legs carried me forward. I stepped inside the passage, ducking under the low ceiling. The air was damp and metallic, tasting of rust and old stone. The tunnel sloped downward, each step taking me deeper into the earth. Somewhere ahead, something was dripping, steady as a clock. When I reached the end, I found the small room again, but this time it wasn't empty. The chair was still there, but now someone was sitting in it. It was me, or something that looked exactly like me, only pale, hollow-eyed, lips cracked and blue as if it had been trapped down here for years. It raised its head slowly and smiled. You came back, it said in my voice. I stumbled back against the dirt wall, heart thudding so loud it hurt. What are you? I demanded. It stood, moving with a slowness that made my stomach twist, and stepped closer until we were only a foot apart. I'm what stays, it said simply. When you don't leave. Behind me, the passage was suddenly filled with figures. The tall one, the crouched one, and more I hadn't seen before, all standing perfectly still, blocking the way out. My double tilted its head. They didn't want him to leave either, it said, nodding toward the dusty box on the floor. I looked down. The box was open now, papers scattered. Letters from the previous owner, journal pages covered in frantic handwriting. Asterisk, they come every night now. They won't let me sleep. I think they want me to take his place. Asterisk. I looked back up at my double, and it was closer, almost nose to nose with me now. Its breath was cold on my face. You can leave, it said softly. but not without leaving something behind. My hands were shaking. What do you mean? Its grin widened. You. The figures behind me began to move, slow, synchronized steps filling the tiny room. I stumbled back toward the passage, but my double reached out and grabbed my wrist. And for a moment, the world blurred. I saw flashes, the house empty, the hallway silent, years passing in fast forward, until I saw myself, older, sitting in the kitchen, staring at nothing. Trapped. I ripped my arm free and bolted, shoving past the figures in the passage. Their cold hands brushed my skin as I ran, but they didn't stop me. I didn't stop until I was out of the basement, up the stairs, and back in the hallway, gasping for air. The house was quiet. Too quiet. The mirror was leaning against the wall now, right where I had to pass to get to my room. In it, I saw myself, but not how I was now. Older. Still. Watching me. And smiling. I backed away until my shoulders hit the bedroom door. Then, in the mirror, my reflection raised one hand and tapped the glass 3 times. Knock. 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 The sound echoed through the house. And the lights went out. That's where my memory ends. I woke up this morning on the bedroom floor, the box from the basement next to me. The hidden door was gone, sealed like it had never existed. But I can still hear them at night. Still hear the knocks. And tonight will be the 7th night. If I stay, maybe I won't wake up at all. But if I leave, maybe whatever's down there will come with me. What would you do? Would you leave, or open that door one last time?